So hi and welcome to this presentation called From Invisible to Influencer for Event Professionals. 5 steps to making yourself as unforgettable as the events that you organize. And I really want to just take a moment here to appreciate your time. I know that your time is valuable. Thank you very much for devoting around half an hour to finding out a bit more about this program. You are very welcome, and I look forward to sharing the next 30 minutes with you as we delve a little bit deeper into what this program is all about. So first of all, let's focus on you. Now, I don't know you, obviously, but you may be someone who is thinking about a reboot or a refresh in terms of your life or your career. You may be thinking about changing your job or perhaps even launching a new career and doing something different. You may just be getting back on your feet after some kind of hard time at work, or redundancy perhaps even, or something that may have shifted or changed in your career or your life. Or you simply may be feeling a little bit stuck and unsure what you should be doing next. You may be feeling a little bit undervalued where you are right now, and that's certainly something that's often true of event professionals who work very much behind the scenes and often don't get the recognition and appreciation of their value in the way that they deserve. Or it may just be that you are lacking a bit of direction and lacking a bit of confidence and just thinking about what else you could be doing. Or you may be thinking, do you know what, I'm not actually getting the credit that I deserve at work or in career in my life, and I need to do something about that. Now, of course, maybe you are also thinking a little bit about, I should get myself more out there. I don't do enough to put myself out and shout about myself a little bit more. You may be thinking you haven't prioritized your profile. Maybe you thought, do you know what, there's much more I could be doing to get myself recognized and out there. You may be, for example, a bit of a reluctant public speaker. It may be something that you don't enjoy, or you've never enjoyed, or don't think of yourself as a great public speaker. You may be sometimes a little bit quiet in meetings and thinking, I should really put my views forward a little bit more. I should be more assertive in meetings. Perhaps you're not that active on social media and haven't been out there in social media land for some time. And perhaps you're not involved in industry events, whatever industry you're from or thinking about. Perhaps you're not as engaged as you think you could be or would like to be. But what you are is someone who is very keen to develop and explore your options. You're looking for the best you. You know, there's more in you. You just want to find ways of getting that best you out. You're open to self-improvement. You want to get something done. You want to get more of the recognition, the profile that you deserve. And you are committed to doing something about it. You're committed to taking some action. And hopefully you are willing to get out of your comfort zone, because none of this happens without getting a little bit uncomfortable and doing things that perhaps we are scared of, or perhaps we haven't done in the past, but we know we should be doing a little bit more. Maybe there's something in your mind about making a difference to others. This quite often happens. We lose a bit of purpose. We lose a bit of our direction in our career, and now kind of think, do you know what? I would really like to do something that makes a significant difference to other people. But what you are not, hopefully, is looking for something that's real traditional career advice, doing psychometric tests, rewriting your CV, all of that recruitment agency stuff. Maybe you're looking for something that's a little bit different to that, something that's going to transform you in a much deeper way. And hopefully you are not closed-minded about stuff. You are open to something new, something different, and something potentially challenging. Again, hopefully you are not skeptical or cynical or world-weary. You're not at that stage. You haven't given up. You really want to do something positive. And hopefully, again, what you are not is unwilling to change. Because change is challenging. And if you are here, it's going to be because you are looking for change. But as this picture depicts, change can be challenging, but you're open to that, hopefully, and we're going to go on a journey around change together, and we're going to face those challenges together. So, in the next 30 minutes, here's what you are going to learn. You're going to learn about how to move yourself from invisible to influencer so that you become as unforgettable as the events that you organise if you are an event professional. You're going to learn how to supercharge your confidence and turbo boost your impact in a way that you really deserve and should be getting into your life. You're going to get both the mindset and the tools that you need to build your profile. It's about shifting how you think, but it's also about how you get your message out there at the same time. Other things you're going to learn in the next 30 minutes. You're going to learn that it's not just about how to get yourself out there, it's also about who you are fundamentally and knowing a little bit more deeply who that is. It's about your values. It's about your purpose, something that's deep within us that we rarely get time to think about and to look at. What else are you going to learn in the next 30 minutes? You're also going to learn how to show up authentically in the world, much more than you have done before, so that you build your confidence. You start to overcome the fears that are holding you back. You start to recognize those beliefs that may not be serving you, and you start to bounce forward from setbacks strongly instead of being buffeted around by things that feel are out of your control. In the next 30 minutes, you are also going to learn how to master communication techniques that keep your messaging focused, that wow a job interview panel, that allow you to always speak without notes and not having to refer to huge numbers of notes and presentation slides. You're going to learn how to control a media, job or panel interview and how that's done. You're going to learn how to write compelling social media posts and blogs. And my promise to you is that by the end of this webinar, you will get clear on the steps that you need to take to find your true voice and how to use it. And that's because you deserve and want to make an impact on the world, not just on your own life, but on the lives of other people as well, when you have started on the journey to becoming the best you. But first of all, let me just ask again, is this you and how you're feeling? Do you sometimes feel undervalued because your work seems to go unrecognized? Do you feel that you should do more to promote your own career and that many other people are getting either more attention or more credit than you are at the moment? Do you feel sometimes like you're not maximizing your potential, or you're not doing something that really engages you, that really gives you purpose? Or perhaps you've lost confidence in yourself recently, or maybe you feel you never even had much confidence in the first place. And are you not doing something that you really believe in, which is so often true of so many of us in our careers? And in summary, are you looking for a change? Are you looking for something different? In summary, do you feel like you don't get anywhere near as much recognition as the events that you organise as an event professional? So what's the real problem here? If that's all true, what's the one reason why that is all the case? Well, quite simply, you haven't taken time for yourself. It's not that there's anything wrong with you. It's not that there's anything wrong with what you've done in the past. Perhaps you simply haven't taken the time for yourself that you deserve. And hopefully that stops here and that stops today. Because once you do that, once you do take some time for yourself and reflect and retrench and reboot and refresh, once you do that, you can have fearlessness. You can have purpose. You can have a personal authority that is unique to you. You can have a profile that you deserve and that you build. you can have an impact that's suitable to who you are as your authentic self. And why do I say all of that? Why do I say that? Who am I to talk about any of this stuff? Well, I'm a PR and events veteran. I've been over 25 years working in PR, communications and events. I've helped many companies and their leaders to raise their own profile. That's been my job. That's been my life's work, to help companies and their leaders to raise their profile. I've worked with CEOs, board members and politicians of all parties and of all shapes and varieties. But all of that time that I did build a successful career, I was always what a childhood friend described me as, an extrovert trapped in an introvert's body. So for me, I had to overcome many challenges just to put myself out there. I was an introvert in an extrovert career. And there were many things I had to overcome because that wasn't my instinct. It wasn't my instinct to put myself out there. And as a person working in PR, as a person doing lots of interviews and all sorts of presentations and stuff, every time I was overcoming a challenge. What's helped me enormously has been training as a life and career coach. And the last 6 years, that's really turned my views around. It's really turned my life around and helped me to recognize some of the things that were going on within those challenges, some of those things that through experience I'd overcome, but I could also recognize how things at a deeper level were also coming up in my everyday life. And being a coach has not only helped me to help other people, it's also served me to think about myself and to go on a journey for myself about life's continual challenges and how we get over them. And of course, all that experience has made me passionate about empowering others and helping others who may feel some of these challenges as well. It's made me really passionate about helping people to overcome fears, to find their purpose, and to not be afraid of putting themselves out there and getting the recognition and profile that they deserve. Anyway, that's enough about me. Let's get into the meat of what we are looking at today. So, first of all, your purpose and your values are fundamentally important. This is when you have felt most fulfilled and satisfied in your life. This is your gut instinct. These are things that you know at a deeper level. It's what's really important to you, whatever is going on the surface. It's really what is the fundamental things and values of your life that drive your behavior. It's you when you're at your best. It's you when you're at your best. It's you when you are feeling in flow, feeling like actually something isn't work. It's actually just something that you're doing almost automatically. And in some ways, it's perhaps who you've been all your life, and it may just be a little bit buried at this moment in time. It may just be something that you've lost connection with, or you've always struggled to find connection with. What is your true purpose, and what are your true values? When have you felt your best self, and when have you felt most fulfilled? It's also about the difference that you make to other people, because when we help others and we serve others, we are always more purposeful. And again, that might be something that's driving you at the moment in terms of making a change. How can I be of service in a greater and more meaningful way than I am now? And of course, the good news is that you already have that purpose. It's already there somewhere within you, but it's probably hidden. It's probably at the moment just not there at the surface. It's just not there in a way that you feel connected. Maybe it doesn't feel obvious to you. Maybe you haven't had the time to explore that and look at it properly. Maybe you can't even articulate it. Maybe you think there is just something that I know is about my deeper purpose and values that is not happening for me right now. And sometimes you have to try and ignore it, because perhaps sometimes we are doing things at work or in our careers or some way that it just means we have to bury stuff. We just have to bury thoughts around purpose and values, because you know what, I have to get a wage packet at the end of the month, I've got to pay bills, I've got to do all sorts of stuff, and this is what I'm doing right now, even if ultimately I don't think this is the most fulfilling thing I've ever done. So sometimes we bury these things, and now is an opportunity to think about how you can explore that. Equally, maybe you don't pay attention to it. Maybe it just sits there within your gut, but actually, you know what? It's your day-to-day activity. It's all of the things that take up our time and attention that aren't to do with our deeper purpose and values, that actually means it doesn't sit there as a significant thing for us right now. Well, hopefully all of that is going to change as a result of you taking this first step by watching this webinar. Maybe you find that it's challenged daily. Maybe you're coming up against stuff every single day that you think, do you know what, I know this is my job, but something about it doesn't feel right. Something about it doesn't feel like it's what I want to do ultimately, and I could be doing something a lot more fulfilling. But the main important thing here, to summarize it all, is that if you don't know where you're going, you'll simply end up somewhere else. If you don't know where you're going, you will simply end up somewhere else. So of course, if you are not in touch with that purpose, if you are not in touch with your values and your most fulfilled self, you're simply going to drift, and you're going to end up somewhere else, like it says in this quote, because you're not really taking the time to explore that, to think about it, and take some control of it. So the bottom line here is, if you can get in touch with your purpose, if you can get in touch with your values, that's going to give you a much deeper and better sense of the direction that you want to go in. So let's get into it again. This is number 2 in our series of 5 things to look at. And this is the idea of being yourself. Now, with the events industry in particular, it's the 6th most stressful job in the world. It's got tight deadlines, it's got low budgets, it has long hours, it has multiple stakeholders, it has a very poor record on work-life balance. So where's the time to be yourself in all of this? Where does that come from? You're quite often busy doing stuff and less being, less thinking about how you would like to be, and not just what is it that you're doing. Our lives are full of Excel spreadsheets rather than thinking about how we'd like to be more calm, how we'd like to be more balanced. It's the doing that overtakes the being every time. So being yourself, if you can get to that stage, you can have a personal authority. You can feel a lot more in control of that kind of feeling. You can be authentic. You can get to your authentic self if you take some time to look at it, because ultimately you are already enough. You don't need to add things. You don't need to add more qualifications, more experience. You are enough as you are already. You have a story already. You have a wonderful story. Perhaps it just hasn't been articulated well enough, or you haven't spent enough time thinking about how you articulate that story. And what's incredibly important in all of this is that you just haven't given yourself time to explore your own story and to think about how you want that story to be and how you want that story to sound to other people. And the bottom line again here is, if you don't know who you are, how will other people? If you don't know who you are, how will everyone else? And how will they hear your story in an authentic way? So let's get into the third theme here, fear. Fears will always hold you back. Now, we all have fears. It's only natural. It's part of the amygdala part of our brain, the most ancient part of our brain. Now, some of those we know, some of those we don't. We might know that we're afraid of public speaking. Maybe we don't know the little fears that are quite often holding us back. And we are hardwired for it. So quite often it's very difficult to see, because our brain is quite often operating to keep us safe, and that means keeping us fearful, and that means, sadly, quite often holding us back, because it takes effort to overcome fear. It doesn't happen automatically. It takes a huge effort. And overcoming fear is not easy, but the first starting point is to understand that most fears aren't real. We can start from there and build on it. They're simply beliefs, or they're simply things that we are going to tell ourselves. And our positive beliefs can trump fear. We can get over our fears by developing an unshakable belief in ourselves and who we are and what we want to do. We can question our own thoughts. We can tell ourselves, actually, yes, I hear what you're saying on one part of my brain, but on the other part of brain, I'm going to be rational, logical, and I'm going to be positive. So we can start to control our thoughts, and we can start to not necessarily get rid of that fear, but we can appreciate what it is and treat it logically and rationally and not get carried away with being too fearful in our lives, especially when it comes to telling our story and getting ourselves out there. And all of this will happen one step at a time. Conquering one little fear at a time can be enormously powerful. But in summary here, what's important here is that fear is the heart of many of our beliefs, and they are often just beliefs. They are not truths, they are not reality, they are simply things that we tell ourselves day in, day out, minute by minute. And the bottom line of all of this is actually you can have unshakable belief. You can have unshakable belief in who you are and what you do. So let's get into the fourth theme, and this is about preparation. This is the hard fact of preparing for things like meetings, preparing for things like panels, preparing for talks, preparing for interviews. All of these things are incredibly important to prepare for, and I see so often people not preparing properly, not doing the hard work to make the most of all of these opportunities, because they are all opportunities, but they're only going to be opportunities if we prepare for them. So let's make preparation our friend. Rehearsing is incredibly important, and it's probably something that we don't put enough time into and don't do often enough, but rehearsing does make something real. Even rehearsing a regular meeting that you might be going to can make you more prepared, more powerful, and more confident once you go into that meeting. Thinking about your key messaging is incredibly important. Thinking about what it is that you would like to get across, and what it is you would like to get across consistently and persistently over time, so that people start to hear your messages time and time again and start to understand what's important to you and how you would like to be heard. Finding the right tone, finding the right language around warmth and emotions and feelings. These are ways that we get people to feel warm towards us. If we talk about loving things, if we talk about our own vulnerability, for example, people will respond to that in a warm way. They will start to see you as someone who is engaging, someone who is warm, as well as someone who is competent. And these things are incredibly important to find that right emotional language, as well as the work language that we use so often in our everyday lives. And it's important to feel that you have control. This is, again, one of the most fundamental human feelings, and so important to us to feel like we have control, and preparation is going to give us that feeling of control. And of course, don't hand over your power. By not preparing for something, you are putting power into someone else's hands. Preparation, rehearsing, these things will make you feel so much more in control and stepping into your power in a way that you'll find really surprising if you never take the time to do this, or if this is something that you hardly ever do. Believe me, preparation is your friend. So what's important here is that preparation makes you confident. That's the main point. It builds your confidence for whether you're speaking or going to a meeting, whatever it is that you're doing. Preparing in advance, rehearsing, feeling in control is going to magnify your confidence level 10 times. And the bottom line is, as the old familiar saying goes, fail to prepare, prepare to fail. So many of the things you may have experienced in the past in terms of confidence, wherever you are, in whatever situation, is quite often at the foot of the door of preparation. And finally, some tips and techniques for you. Well, we go into this a little bit more detail in the program, but there are things like the message house. These are very simple tools and techniques to build your messaging, to build your confidence, and to help you speak, for example, in the message house case, without notes anytime. Handling difficult questions. A big fear for us quite often is, I hope they don't ask me this, that, or the other in this meeting or on this panel or in this speaking engagement that I've got. There are ways of handling difficult questions. Some of it's preparation, some of it is just knowing how to respond in the right way and in a calm way. And there are tips and techniques for how to handle difficult questions. And we go into some of this in detail in the course. Using slides in presentations, oh my goodness, so you still will see people with all sorts of words on all sorts of presentations all of the time. There are different tips and techniques for presenting, even if you still want to use slides, that are going to make life so much easier for you, which is going to keep the focus on you. Because what you want to do in a presentation is to have the eyeballs on you, not on the screen. You want to keep them engaged, you want to have them looking at you so that you're in control, so that you have their attention, because from that comes warmth. Warmth does not come from a slide with lots of words on it. So again, within the program, we look at that in a bit more detail. How do you make a warm and engaging presentation? There's a real thing now with having a virtual presence, with how do you present online? How do you hold a meeting online? How do you do that? Particularly in gallery view on Zoom, where faces all over the place and you're not sure where to look and who to look at. There's a real skill involved in that. And, we are starting to see more and more of this in the workplace as virtual meetings become more and more common. How do we hold our presence there? How do we make sure that people stay engaged with us when it feels so artificial? And there are ways and tips and techniques for delivering a warm virtual presence. Body language is incredibly important, and again, there's a wonderful book called Presence by Amy Cuddy that I would highly recommend to you to have a look at, to know and understand how our body language can make us feel confident or unconfident depending on how we use it. And again, tips and techniques as to how we hold ourselves and what we do in terms of our body language, which is going to communicate confidence, not just to those people who we are with, but to ourselves at the same time. So, getting all of these learned and mastered is incredibly important for building confidence and for underpinning our efforts to build our profile and get us more confident and more out there. Because all of these things bring their own confidence. Every one of these tips and techniques will bring their own confidence into your armory, into your suite of tools and techniques to build that confidence and to help you grow. And of course, there's no magic to any of this. They can be used by anyone. Quite often when we see really impressive people, all they've done is think about it and do it a little bit more and practice it and get the experience of it. But you don't need a degree. You don't need a qualification in any of these things. You just need to learn how to use them and to get confident with them. Because in this section, what's important here is anyone can become an influencer. Anyone can become someone who is regularly out there promoting themselves as well as their important work. This is not something that's reserved for superhuman beings. Anyone can do this. Anyone can get on top of these tips and techniques, as well as understanding who we are, what our purpose is, and what our authentic story is. And if we build all of these up, then we're going to have an incredible impact, an incredible influencing impact on the world. Because the bottom line here is that this isn't about any superpower. This isn't about anything special. It's about practice. And practice really can make perfect. There is often truth in any cliche. Practice really can make perfect. And in this particular instance, number 5 here, about tips and techniques, practicing these will really make a big difference to how you show up in the world. And speaking of which, here's a case study of somebody that I worked with. Now, Amy was going through a massive change at work. She couldn't predict what was going to happen. She was living with all sorts of uncertainty, but we did explore her purpose. And what she found was really important to her was brave. Being brave, even though she didn't always feel brave, it was a really profoundly important value for her. And once we'd got into that, and once we'd found that little nugget of a value, we played through different scenarios and how she would react if she was going to be brave. So even though there was uncertainty, we could play through all of those uncertainties, and we could decide in advance what being brave meant in all of those scenarios and what she would do. And therefore, she felt resilient, she felt strong, she felt able to cope with uncertainty. Even if things were swirling around her, she knew that brave and bravery was so important to her. She knew how she wanted to act, and she knew how she could react to each and every of the scenarios that were on the horizon. And as part of that, in the end, not only did she act bravely throughout all of this period, she also made her first social media video that she'd never done before. And that just came, as a side thing. And it was out of a side thing of concentrating on this idea of being brave, wanting to be brave, and feeling that bravery was a real part of her authentic self. So let's just recap where we are. We've talked about purpose, giving you direction. We've talked about being able to find your true self. We've talked about being able to overcome fear. We've talked about how preparation in advance of everything is key. And we've talked about very simple and easy tips and techniques that you can master. And at the end of the day, purpose and self and fearlessness and preparation and mastery of those communication techniques, that can all help you move from being invisible to influencer. This is a formula that anyone can follow. So what happens now? Well, of course, I can leave you to figure this all out on your own, and you can read some books, you can talk to your friends and family, you can have a think about it, or you could start to write and maybe journal on some of these things that you've heard here, or you can go and get some more training and some more qualifications or some more professional development. You could do all of that, or you could invest in yourself for a change. We talked about how much of this has been the fact that you haven't invested in yourself perhaps for some time. That would involve going deeper. That would involve going deeper into things like purpose and values and authenticity. We would do that in a context of absolutely no judgment or advice, which may seem a strange thing to say, but this would be about you finding your own answers. It would be about you finding the solutions that give you confidence. It would not be about myself or anyone else telling you what to do directly. It would simply be transforming yourself from within with some guided questions and some guided suggestions. It's not about telling you what to do. What you would also get is a 100% belief in you and who you are and how you are enough already. And that would be the starting point for our journey together. It would be about believing in you 100%, even if some of those beliefs for your own self are slightly hidden right now. There would also be some accountability, some friendly accountability to encourage you along the way. And most importantly, it would be about taking action. It would not simply be about thinking, reading, or talking. It would be some action, because we can stay in our heads for as long as we like. Nothing will change. Nothing will happen differently until we take some action. And part of that, no doubt, will involve challenging your fears, getting over your fears, getting encouragement to do that. Because without an unshakable belief and without the ability to take action, you may well stay stuck where you are. So, you have a choice. And my belief is that your choice is hopefully to put yourself first for a change. And what we would do on a call is explore a step-by-step plan for you about how we go about doing that. And just as a reminder, who is this for? This is for you if you're keen to develop and explore yourself. This is for you if you are looking for the best you and you don't feel you are your best self at this moment in time. This is for you if you are open to self-improvement. And this is for you if you are committed to taking action. It is also for you if you are willing to get out of your comfort zone and to be challenged. All of that adds up, not just to a little bit more career advice, not just to some suggestions or a list of jobs or a list of things that you could be doing. It would be about a wholesale transformation from where you are now into the person that you want to be and into the person that you can be. Now, if that's you, book a call. If that sounds like you, book a call. Let's have a conversation. It is simply a conversation. It's nothing more than that at this stage. If it's not for you and you're looking for traditional career advice, then maybe this isn't the right channel for you. It's not for you if you're closed-minded about things. It's not you if you're skeptical. It's not you if you're not really willing to change. It's not you if you are just simply curious and just wanted to know what this was all about. And effectively, what that means is that you're just happy to stay the same. And that's fine. There's no judgment in that. That's completely fine. But I want to make sure that when we have a conversation, and if you are to come into this program, that you are someone who is not all of these things and not wanting to stay exactly where you are and to stay the same, which quite often means just staying stuck. And as I say, no judgment in that. It may not be the right time for you, but let's be honest with each other about where you are at this particular stage in your journey. So again, why am I doing this? Well, I've been there. I know the pitfalls. I've been on my own journey with this stuff, both as a PR and events professional and now as a coach. So I know the challenges that you're facing. I believe my purpose is now to help other people flourish. I want everyone I meet and come into contact with to flourish, hopefully through a calm and warm presence that is how I aspire to be. I describe my mission as one to make the world a better place and to do that one person at a time. So you would get my full attention. You would get my full 100% unshakable belief in your ability and your ability to change and to make the world a better place. I absolutely want you to succeed. And I want you to succeed like someone like Karen. So Karen is another person who I worked with. She was lacking in confidence when it came to job interviews. She was never being her best self when she walked into an interview room. We looked at moments in her life when she had felt satisfied and fulfilled. And we also looked at her superfans. Who was it around her that made her feel good about herself? And we looked at how she could stay more positively engaged with the positive people that made her feel good. And she managed to channel all of that positivity into how she felt about herself, not just her interview answers, because here's a fundamental thing. When you walk into a job interview room, you have to be so 100% positive and unshakable in your belief about yourself that that's how you feel when you walk into the room. It's not just about regurgitating answers that you have tried to memorize. It's about how you feel when you open that door and walk into the interview room. And she became, as a result, so less attached to the outcome of the interview that she just thought, you know what, it is what it is. I'm going to walk into that room in my best self with my positive superfans views ringing around my head. I'm going to be as positive as I can possibly be, and if I don't get the job, I don't get the job. And ironically, what happens when we become less attached to that interview outcome, we become way more confident and show up much more as ourselves. And this is exactly what happened with Karen. So what do you get from this program is probably a question you're asking. What you get is an 8-week fast-track journey of self-exploration, self-expression, and self-confidence. And I would say that's a formula right there. Self-exploration, that's knowing who you are, plus self-expression, that's knowing how to communicate who you are, equals self-confidence. It's as simple as that. You also get more than an hour's worth of unique video learning units every week. So that's more than 8 hours of bespoke video learning units that I've made myself that are designed specifically for the program. You will not find this anywhere else. You also get access to 3 hours of group coaching per week for 8 weeks solid. So that will be 3 hours access to myself as the coach every single week for 8 weeks. You will also, along the way, be part of a hugely supportive online community of people who are, by and large, event professionals themselves, who will be there beside you along the way. And I have to tell you that for me, in the last few years, learning the power of that positive community and the support that you get from people within a small community like that is really quite extraordinary, and probably the number one value in some ways of a program like this. And what that means within that community is you also get opportunities to try out and get feedback on anything you like, on some written copy, on videos if you've never done those before, on articles, on interviews, on preparing for something, or just bringing something related to work along to that and just talking it through, trying stuff out, and getting encouragement to be your best self from a group of highly committed people who are in exactly the same position as you. That means you get a team who stands for you and with you every step of the journey from invisible to influencer. In addition, I've committed that 10% of the program proceeds will go to the Stephen Lawrence Centre in southeast London, which was a centre set up following the racist killing of Stephen Lawrence, and is now a community centre dedicated to the advancement of opportunities for disadvantaged young people. 10% of the programme proceeds will go there. There is also an opportunity to sign a friend. If you have someone else you think may benefit from joining the programme, and they sign up for that, you will get a commission of £100 or $125, and your friend will also get a reduction of the same amount when they sign up. So there is a sign a friend commission for the program also. All in all, I promise you that talking about this and exploring the program will be worth your time. So here are my contact details. Here's how to connect with me on LinkedIn. Here's my absolute belief that every part of this means that you are absolutely worth it. I am thrilled that you've watched this webinar. I'm thrilled that you're thinking of joining the program. Please do let me know if you have any questions or I can help with anything further.